At first glance, Montreal looks peaceful. Jazz cafes, cobblestone streets, and polite Canadian smiles. But under that charm lies a city with a darker heartbeat. A city where blood runs colder than the St. Lawrence River, and loyalty can get you killed. This is the untold story of how Montreal became home to one of the most violent mafia wars in North America. A feud that would rewrite the rules of Canada's underworld. Stay with me, because by the end you'll understand why the Montreal Mafia Massacre was never just about business. It was about revenge. If you love true crime and stories the news never dared to tell, hit that subscribe button, because what you're about to hear is as real as it gets. It began quietly, as most tragedies do. For decades, Montreal's underworld lived under one name, the Rizzuto family. Vito Rizzuto, known as the Teflon Don of Canada, controlled everything from narcotics to construction. His network stretched from Sicily to New York and even to South America. He kept the peace between rival factions, Italian, Irish, even biker gangs. But every empire faces its decline, and this one was destined to fall from within. In 2004, the United States indicted Vito Rizzuto for his role in the murder of 3 Bonanno family captains in Brooklyn. The crime was decades old, but the message was fresh. The FBI hadn't forgotten. Vito was extradited south of the border, and in his absence, wolves began to circle. The Rizzuto throne didn't stay empty long. At home, his father Niccolo and his son Nick Jr. tried to maintain control, but without Vito's diplomacy, the delicate balance of power collapsed. Old enemies like Salvatore Montagna, a rising power from New York's Bonanno family, saw an opportunity. Montagna came to Montreal claiming he wanted peace, but everyone in the streets knew he came for the crown. Then the killings began. It started with whispers, bodies found in quiet neighborhoods, drive-by shootings at dawn, old soldiers vanishing overnight. In 2009, Nick Rizzuto Jr. was gunned down in broad daylight while driving through Montreal. The message was clear. The bloodline was being erased. 1 year later, Vito's father, Niccolo Rizzuto Sr., was shot dead inside his own home by a sniper. The bullet went through the window while he sat at his desk. A hit like that, bold, surgical, personal, told everyone the rules had changed. The streets turned red. Alliances shattered. Men who had shared wine and prayers at the same table were now plotting each other's deaths. Even the Hells Angels, usually content to stay out of Italian affairs, began picking sides, protecting their own business interests as the city descended into chaos. When Vito finally returned from U.S. prison in 2012, he came home to a graveyard. His son, gone. His father, gone. His allies, dead or defected. But Vito wasn't broken. He came back with one mission: vengeance. In less than a year, the streets of Montreal became a war zone. Enemies of the Rizzutos began dropping one by one. Car bombs, home invasions, ambushes in parking lots. The bodies of those who had betrayed him were found in rivers, burned-out cars, or shallow graves outside the city. Vito's vengeance wasn't loud, it was methodical. He didn't call it justice, he called it balance. And for a time, balance returned. The Rizzuto name regained fear and respect, but fate had one final twist. In 2013, just as the dust began to settle, Vito Rizzuto died suddenly. Natural causes, they said. Some claimed it was lung cancer. Others whispered poison. Because men like Vito don't die peacefully. Not after taking so many lives, not after spilling that much blood in God's city. With Vito's death, the Rizzuto Empire crumbled for good. New factions rose: Sicilian Moyalists, Calabrian rivals, street-level enforcers, all fighting for scraps of what was once an empire. And while the headlines faded, the killing didn't stop. Even today, decades later, Montreal remains haunted by that war. Many of the old families still operate quietly, laundering money through real estate, construction, and politics. They wear suits instead of tracksuits, sign contracts instead of firing guns. But the code hasn't changed. You cross the wrong man, you vanish. No trials, no second chances, just silence. The Montreal Mafia Massacre wasn't one night. It was a decade-long symphony of betrayal, greed, and blood. It showed the world that even in Canada, a land known for peace and order, the shadows run deep. Every bullet fired in that war carried history in its chamber. Sicilian vendettas, American influence, and a uniquely Canadian brand of ambition. Because in Montreal, crime isn't chaos, it's culture, it's legacy. And for those who built their empires in the dark, there's one truth that still echoes through the alleys of Little Italy. You can't bury the past when the soil is already soaked in blood. If you found this story as chilling as I did, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who still believes Canada doesn't have a mafia. Because sometimes the most polite countries hide the darkest secrets.